Welcome to the Paradigm Shift, Conquering Fear and Aligning to the Awakening. I'm your host, Saenz, and with me this segment is Katie Hendricks. Welcome, Katie.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's wonderful to have you. Katie, there is so much that I'm excited to talk to you about. I also want to know your background story, too, and also a little bit about the Hendricks Institute. I'd like to talk about that so that people can check you out there as well.
Okay, certainly. Well, I've been an entrepreneur for most of my adult life. So for 40 years, I've really been making my way in the world. Some of the things to know about me are that the first thing that my mother wrote in my baby book, which I didn't discover until I was an adult, is that Kathy, because that's what they like to call me, loves to pull herself up in her crib and dance. Oh. And it wasn't until I'd already become a dance movement therapist when I was in my late teenage years and in my 20s that I discovered this baby book. And so it reminded me that almost all of us, our passions and our genius and what we really love to do is evident from very, very close to the beginning for us. And one of the things I like to let women know is that no matter what kind of past you've had, no matter what kind of challenges that you've met, that it is possible to create the life that you want in choice by choice. So I got pregnant at 19, married at 20, divorced at 21 when I was a sophomore in college. So I decided that I was going to go back to school and finish my degree, and then I discovered a dance movement therapist, and I went into my career, which has really been about the language of the body and people opening up to their body wisdom. And then I met Gay in 1980, and we've been together now almost 34 years and really use our relationship as kind of a living laboratory. And we are really excited to share with people things that have actually worked for us. So we don't share with people things that we talk about and then we do something entirely different. And I think one of the differences that's happening in the world right now is that people in general aren't accepting advice from people who are not aligned in action with what they're actually recommending to other people. And so the things that we teach people and that we share are really what we call kitchen and bedroom tested. So we know that they work. And the Hendricks Institute, I've been the CEO and the director of training for the Hendricks Institute now for many, many years. And one of our passions is to have people open up to the wisdom of their bodies, not only to create their own well-being, but also to really create a flow of love and harmony with others and connection with others. And people can reach us at a couple of different websites. There's Hendricks.com, which is Hendricks.com, but also we have a new website that's called the Foundation for Conscious Living, and that's the foundationforconsciousliving.com, and that is all about the main principles that we would like to see everybody in the world operating by: authenticity, responsibility, the ability to actually respond to your life, and appreciation. And so we have a whole website that allows people to try on these activities, to get a sense of what the attitudes are that are going to make a big difference for you, and then also to share your own stories of transformation. So we're really excited to be exploring at what we consider as really a tipping point in the world, and certainly for the human species. And it's very interesting, Mia. My passion for the last year and a half has been all about ending the fear trance.
This is beautiful. Everything is synchronistic. It's totally beautiful. And I had asked you to be on the Self-Love Summit, and I also, and so you were busy, and so you were gracious enough to do this. But I also do Feminine Essence Awakening as well, which is all part of body movement in other stuff too, which all goes along with self-love. So I love this. It's all intertwined, and it's beautiful. It's the right timing.
I think we're all joining together now and creating a kind of momentum that is actually making a difference in the world. So it's very exciting.
It is. I call it the love revolution because It's now, it's important, and the more love we express and give to our counterparts besides our sisters, the more unity we come together without fear. And I
agree. I totally agree, and I think that's a great way of putting it.
Thank you. I would really, I'm so excited, and yes, I know about both your websites, and they will be in the credits after the show.
Super.
And so everybody can find Katie's information there. I would like to discuss with you fear in relationships, and let's bust those myths, because truly when you love more, it doesn't have to be, and I love that you and Gay are a living laboratory, and I've heard that for years. I love that. I'm a newlywed, my second marriage, and it's the same type of thing. I'm not a pro at it yet, being, and we aren't. But if we're authentic about our truth and our love, and it's based in, well, in the same moral principles, because I wanted to say spirituality, but not everybody, takes it to a spiritual degree like others. So let's get into this.
Sure.
There's a lot of fear in relationships. I know that when I first got into this relationship with this beautiful man, Adrian Boniardi, my husband, a lot of women were very interested in him, just like men were interested in me. And so it brought on a lot of jealousy. And I had absolutely no idea what was bothering me, because I've never been a jealous person. Well, jealousy is fear.
Yes.
And when
fear and self-talk.
Yes, yes. And when I realized that in meditation, I just said, I took, I think, a month or two, and I was just like, what is going on with me? And the answer came so clearly, which I was very grateful for. But let's talk about that. How do you work with yourself, with people, ones you love, on eliminating fear in relationships? We can point out a few different things that are scary for people. So let's start with jealousy, and then we'll move on to some other topics.
Well, I want to just start with the fear itself, that people don't often recognize the body signals that let them know they are in fear. And so one of the things I've created a little video called Fear Melters, which people can find on our website. It's called Fear Melters, and it really focuses on the 4 expressions of fear that most of us are aware of: the fight or flight. We're either going to go toward them or run away, but we're not aware of the freeze and the faint. So when people get acquainted with the signal, so that fight is often that, oh yeah, and the flee is when you're leaving, even if it's energetically, and then of course freeze is that deer in the headlight. But faint is something that people don't often realize is actually fear. When you have that feeling of being drained, or you kind of go stupid for a moment, you can't get your words, you kind of have that moment, that's often fear. And then when that occurs, people stop moving and they stop breathing. So regardless of what it is about, the moment that you start moving your body in a way that feels good to you and you start breathing again, you presence yourself again. You're not in the fear. You become then located in your body, and then you're actually able to relate to the other person as a person, not as the myth that you're, the filter that you're looking through them at. So I like to encourage people to recognize the signals of fear as soon as they can, and then make a shift rather than trying to talk on top of the fear. Because as Sophocles said over 2,000 years ago, when you're scared, everything rustles. So when you're scared, everything looks scary.
Right.
And your partner could you scared me. Would you stop scaring me? I'd feel so much better if you'd stop doing that, rather than realizing, oh, there's something I can do that's going to move me from fear to flow. So I don't think we ever get rid of fear. Fritz Perls once said that fear is excitement without the breath. So the moment that we start breathing, we actually get a flow of energy, a flow of resourcefulness that we can then use. And there may be things to be said. There may be feelings to be felt. There may be agreements that need to be discussed. So in the specific case of jealousy, what I found is that jealousy is about something that I think another person has that I don't. And so then I try to get my partner to not pay attention to them or to pay more attention to me, rather than looking at what is it that I could learn from this person that I could then integrate. In Buddhism, they call it friendly cannibalism, that you see something in somebody else and you just go ahead and let yourself take that quality and integrate it in yourself and combine it with your other qualities and own it. So that because everybody has star qualities.
Exactly.
And you could be moving around the world going, oh, I don't like you because you're too cute. And I don't like you because you're taller than me. And instead of going, how could I take up my full space? How could I enjoy the flow of my own sexual feelings regardless of what is going on with my partner? So there are specific things that each of us can do so that we are not feeling victimized by what's going on around us.
Right. I love that because that's totally different than me, but I love that. I mean, than my personal experience. Mine was, I realized, from abandonment from childhood.
Sure.
And it has, because I've always said in different interviews and stuff, when people talk about jealousy, I love that my neighbor drives a new Jaguar. I am so grateful that they have that. I'm not ever jealous of anything. And one of the people that I interviewed, they said, wow, that's really amazing, Mia. And then all of a sudden this big old ugly thing came up, a year ago.
Right.
And I realized it's not that I'm jealous of a specific person. It's the sense of, what if I'm abandoned again from the one that I love? Like when I was a child with my parents.
Yeah, so you were afraid of being left.
Yes, I think.
There's two big fears in relationship. One is the fear of being left, and the other is the fear of being smothered and overwhelmed by the other person. So it's either the fear of getting close or the fear of getting separate. And in that, when people learn how to recognize the symptoms, even that I'm scared, and can say, I just realized I got scared.
Right.
And they're not justifying it or saying, would you stop doing what you're doing, or what's wrong with me, but, I just felt scared. Then again, I'm opening to being present with myself. And that's the start. Because if I'm not present with me, then everything's going to look like it's a problem.
Exactly. And when we are present and come back from that abandonment or that fear in that one situation, we realize we're never alone. We're always in the presence of the divine and the presence of our higher self, which I love. I also didn't know about the expression, the edible cannibal.
Friendly cannibalism.
Thank you, friendly cannibalism.
Sure.
I call that old soul, where we absorb stuff. So I love that.
I love that idea because it is. You can actually. I think that a lot of what makes our work really available to people is that we have an ethic of giving it all away, and so we give away our workbooks and our videos, and when people come to trainings, all of the material and the manuals they can use. And the idea there is the gift must always move. The idea is that there's always more abundance if you are the distributor rather than the consumer. And when you open up to the flow from the universe coming through you, you need to let go in order to have more come through.
Right. And that's beautiful. That energy flow that you're talking about is beautiful. I love that you guys are so giving and loving, and that's one reason why I'm grateful that you're on this segment. What are some other aspects that you've noticed with people regarding fear?
Well, the main thing with fear is that people get separate from their actual experience. And then they feel separate. And then it looks like their partner or the group or the world or their job is against them. So they then go into what we call victim and into kind of a collapse in their bodies and don't feel resourceful and can get hopeless and helpless, and then try to get other people to take care of them, and then that runs into other people getting mad at them, and then that's the villain move where the person says, why can't you just, buck up, there's nothing to be scared of. Or they might say, oh, here, let's go out and get ice cream, and then we'll both feel better, which, is what we call a hero move. But underneath all of that is usually something that hasn't been faced. And it's most often a feeling, like I'm scared, or I felt angry this morning and I didn't share it with you, or here's something that I want, but I'm afraid to ask for it. So it's often a feeling or a communication or an agreement that is either not working or it has been broken. So we cover all of these things on what we call our 4 pillars of integrity, which are actually the skills that allow people to experience themselves as whole human beings. They're not woo-woo or things that you can wish for. They're actual skills that you can learn. And that's also on our website. And what we find is that when people are practicing the skills of responsibility and emotional openness and agreements, that they actually form a flexible but solid structure that makes them really resilient in the world, so that you can be present to you and be present to another. That's really the big skill, is can I be myself and be with you? What happens to me if, like, you get mad? Do I then get scared or try to take care of you? Or what if I'm feeling sad and you're feeling happy? What if you want to go somewhere and I don't want to go? Those those things about relationship that sound really basic are really the root of what people get into trouble about.
Exactly. Very much so. And if we're all taking care of our own individual self, we can't worry about if we're upset and our partner's happy. Why is he happy and I'm feeling sad? How dare he be happy?
How dare he be happy? He should be taking care of me.
And truly we should be grateful that he's happy, that he could rise above.
Well, this whole thing that 2 people could have 2 different feelings and still really love each other and be connected. Right. One could be sad, one could be mad, and they still love each other, they still feel that connection, and they have their own individual lives. So there's you and me and us, the space in between. And when the space in between is filled with fear, it's very difficult for people to really tap into growing their intimacy and particularly growing their creativity. And when you put a focus also on freeing your fear and opening up your flow, it gives you juice for your own creativity. And I know when I really started putting a focus on my own creativity, I would just celebrate everything that Gay was doing. It wasn't a threat to me because I was so involved in my own creativity that we came together as 2 creative people and we co-created rather than one of us leaning on the other. Or me thinking, oh, I just must be the helpful wife because I'm not creative myself. But
honey, us women are powerful.
Yeah. However, we've had thousands of years of people trying to tell us that we're not. Exactly. So I always like to acknowledge that most women have a shadow of fear that if I really open up to my magnificence, there's going to be an something bad is going to happen, I'm going to be attacked, and in fact we have a history of that. So the more that women can really speak their authentic experience and share what they really want and step into their full power, the better off all of us are.
Absolutely. And men will follow suit and rise up above, rise with us instead of over us.
Yes.
It truly is beautiful. And I think that part of that, what you were just talking about is, and getting past the fear, is really identifying and working on self first.
Yes.
And then as soon as you're strong and complete, do whatever personally that you like. Be in a relationship, don't be in a relationship. The point is create yourself and your relationship first. And
create your own wholeness. Yes.
and then you can give so much to that magnificent person who wants to give back to you.
And then you have somebody who really meets you as you are.
Yes.
And can really grow with you and keep evolving with you.
Exactly. And isn't that beautiful?
Oh, it's the most fun on the planet, as far as I can tell.
Yeah. Let's give some simple tools on getting over fear, because simple tools can be used in any aspect of fear. Jealousy, money. You looked at that woman. That's jealousy.
Yes.
You know, I'm trying to think of some.
Worry, criticizing.
Yes.
All of those things I find are based in fear. That's why I put such an emphasis on it, because at the bottom of all problems is a fear.
Right.
And I don't think it's as important to identify what I'm afraid of, but first to really identify, oh, I'm scared, because I recognize those body sensations of fear. So the simple tools, and again, people can review precisely how to do that with the video that I've made on fear melters. And the simplest key is to start breathing again. Because I guarantee you when you're scared, you're not breathing.
Right.
So, and the best way to start your fear is to start your fear moving into flow is by moving your spine. Because that gets your breath going. So if you just have this gentle arching and rounding in your breath, then you come back to yourself, you relax into yourself. Also just moving your body in some new way, because you're likely to be locked in.
Right.
And so if you do what we call either oozing or wiggling, those are very effective ways of coming back to yourself and breaking the fear trance. And also really giving a moment of love to yourself for what you're feeling. Because often we follow fear with criticism. Oh, there you go again. You're just a scaredy cat. When are you going to get over that? And if you instead love yourself just in that moment for feeling afraid, that's a wonderful way to, again, make yourself available to you and then available to the situation, whatever it is that's wanting to emerge, what's wanting to happen.
Right. I love that. That's really beautiful. I never thought before about identifying the feeling of fear before I identified the problem. So it's like it's there and I realized it, but I didn't work through that. So that's something now that I'm going to start to think about.
Well, here's the thing that we've found is that the flee move, when you actually are, usually going away, you can flee up into your head and go, oh, I wonder what I'm scared about. I wonder who did this. I wonder what the history of this fear is. And that's also a way of leaving yourself. So when you open up to fear as a body experience and you shift fear into flow, your thinking is going to be a lot more effective. It's not going to be repetitive and recycling old worries and old patterns. You'll be open to something new. And especially that fear can turn into excitement and into creativity. So there have been lots of people who've talked about, really, really wonderful performers and people who regularly get scared. And so I don't think that we should expect ourselves to get rid of fear, but to really be able to befriend fear so that we can move through that and it doesn't stop us from having a great life.
Now, when we get to the point where we're through fear, and you said that performers, and made me think, that creative flow that comes, it's because we're listening to our higher self and we've just elevated ourselves again. Is that how you describe it? Or?
I call that I've come into my essence self, who I really am at my core, but I'm also available for energy, for enlightenment, for wisdom to move through me. Because I'm not closed off behind my fear shell. So I can get not only my own resources, but all of my intuition, suggestions from other people, things I notice on the periphery, something that I hear, somebody saying, all of those things become available because I am present and in a receptive mode rather than in a closed off mode.
Wonderful. So, Katie, let's go from fear to love. And I know that you work with this. Will you share?
Yes, we do. In fact, that's one of our books.
Exactly.
Conscious Loving, and
Yes.
we have Lasting Love. Is really interested in love, and one of the definitions that I really like about love is being in the same space as. So the moment that you're willing to be with yourself, you're actually loving yourself. The moment you're willing to be with your fear or to be with your jealousy, I like to use the image sometimes of sitting next to a close friend on a porch swing, where you just got that wonderful rhythm and you're being together. And if you just put your arm around your fear, just for a moment, and you're just be with it, that actually creates a big shift of, a breath, a sense of, oh, okay, I can do something here. I can do something differently. And I also wanted to let people know that one of our new businesses, we have an apps business that we've created. And they're transformational apps for people. And one of the ones that we created a little while ago is called self-esteem meditation, but it's really about learning to love yourself. So if people go to iTunes and go to Supermind apps, they can find this self-esteem meditation, and it helps to synchronize both sides of your brain, and there's visualizing that allows your breathing to slow down so that you can receive the message. So there's this music and visualization plus all of this great content. And so it's my favorite way to really center myself and to be open to love again. Now, if everything fails, here's what one of my graduate school professors showed me how to do. So that you just love yourself in a tangible way until you go, okay, I'm back. I love myself.
The first time I did self-love like that was 25 years ago, and I hugged myself.
Yeah.
And it was the weirdest feeling, but I do it and I have my clients do it, and we do it in the, not together, but I have them do it in the shower when they're bathing and embracing and getting to know their body, because
it's such a great idea.
It is. It's truly a beautiful.
Well, and also because you're contacting yourself, you're being with yourself in a real way. Touch is often, kind of firm touch is a very reassuring move that we can do with ourselves. You may feel silly when you first do it, but if you just let yourself go ahead and do this, even though you may think, this is never going to work, it really does.
It does. And hugs, as you were saying, touching is so vital with a child, your child, as a parent with your partner. It releases oxytocin, which is the love drug. So if we can embrace ourselves in a sense of, I love myself so much, because, and put even your wonderful qualities white, to remind yourself, maybe you'll get your oxytocin flowing then for the love and embrace and the connecting to yourself.
So, and also we know that if you give yourself a 20-second hug, or you give somebody else a 20-second hug, that is a sure way to release the oxytocin.
Exactly.
So you could love yourself also, even for the things about you that you don't think are lovable. To me, that's
more mandatory. Exactly. That's part of the work I do. We go through all that.
You're not thinking of yourself as an improvement project, but really an appreciation project.
Yes.
Which is what I really would like people to leave people with, is that successful relationships have at least a 5-to-1 ratio of appreciations to criticisms. And since most of us criticize ourselves way more than 5 times a day, giving yourself an active appreciation. I appreciate myself for being willing to learn. I appreciate myself for continuing to open up to what might happen. I appreciate myself for making breakfast this morning for my kids. Those things are really powerful.
And they're not arrogant, so please do them, everyone.
No, they're essential.
Yes, exactly. Well, this was such a lovely treat. Thank you so very much, Katie, for joining us. I really appreciate it.
And thank you for what you're doing in the world. Yay, fear busters.
Yay. Thank you all. We'll see you in the next segment. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.